Boom.
I'm looking at my phone. That's how interested I am.
That's fine.
We are live.
We are live. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Doing Bits Live with me, Eshaan Akbar, and Vittorio Angelone.
Hello, how's it going?
Look, very, very polite. Hello, how's it going? I'm really excited about today's guest. Now, the show, Doing Bits Live, is the show where me and Vittorio invite some of our favorite comedians. Oh, hold on. I can hear myself again. Right, there we go. Right. I can hear myself back on the YouTube thing. Anyway, so we invite some of our favorite comedians and talk about the ideas, new material, or even old material that they've worked on before we went in lockdown and talk through them. These are the ideas that Vittorio says are
Quarantined in our brains.
quarantined in our brains, but they're not quarantined anymore. We've lifted the lockdown of material in the brain, and people get to speak about the material. Now, here's the thing. There's a disclaimer with every episode I like to put out there. These are half-baked, underformed, undeveloped ideas. And what you're doing is you're getting an insight into what it's like being in a comedian's brain and in the green room with a comedian as we throw about these ideas. Sometimes we'll say horrible shit. That's part of the fun, right, Vittorio?
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoy saying horrible stuff and then just seeing how it lands. And then,
You just say it as a matter of course. You say
yeah, I
horrible
mean,
shit all
I
the
just
time.
think of the most horrible thing I can and then I say it and then I bear the brunt of the consequences.
So here, because it's all new and old, new material, sometimes old material that I just want to fix, there'll be some stuff that might be offensive. Now, if you are the kind of person that gets offended easily, leave.
Don't leave, just like,
Don't leave.
just better
Don't leave.
yourself
Stay where you
immediately.
And if you're on YouTube live, you can ask questions. So please feel free to ask questions of our guest. And our guest today, oh boy, how can I introduce this woman? What can I say about her that she hasn't said about herself already? She is the love of my life. She's my sister in comedy. I love her very much. She's also incredibly irritating. Her name is Sindhu V. There she is.
Hi.
There she is in her orange top looking like a Hindu priest. Sindhu the Hindu saying true to her.
That's right. Sindhu the Hindu.
Saying true to her call. Sindhu, how are you?
I'm well. I'm very well. I'm very well because I'm here with you. I haven't seen you for ages.
It's been so long.
I know I've met Vittorio for the first time.
That was lovely.
The only so Irish person with such an Italian name. But we've got
Yes.
to the bottom of that.
Yes, we have.
And also I'm day 13 of no fever after getting full Monty Corona. So
Yeah, because you were very ill, weren't you?
I was very ill. Yeah.
And
It
you-
was. I had like it was so bad. I was like, this is not supposed to be that bad. And then I was like, this is very bad. And then every day I was like, this is bad. My husband was like, what did you like? People have been freaking out about COVID, but it was so early in the game, like 18th of March. We didn't technically really go into lockdown until a few days later. So I was like,
Yeah.
but actually the first 4 days I was like, oh, I feel kind of shitty. And then I was all like arrogant because you know me, I was like, oh, I've got it and I'm totally handling it so well. And then
It said,
On
fuck
day-
you.
on day 4 or 5, I was like, ow, ow. And then I started to get a fever, but it was the second week that I really got, I mean, I'm laughing because I'm so scared. I'm laughing because I got so scared because I couldn't breathe. I was like, fuck. I mean, I thought, wait. I don't have asthma, you know,
Yeah.
and why am I laughing? It's not funny. To anyone who's watching, I don't mean it's not funny. But you know how when you're on a roller coaster and you're scared and you think,
I don't know.
or
You're,
like when
you're
I get
laughing
hard,
a lot.
you start laughing.
You're
I
laughing
started
a lot for
laughing.
something that isn't
I'm
funny.
sorry. But there were 3 days, day 11, 12, 13, that were very scary.
Okay. Well,
And
we're
I'm
just
so happy I'm not there.
well, exactly, and we're just glad that you're living and breathing and doing our podcast.
I know, right? And
'Cause
also
really,
that
when
I'm
we-
not breathing like this, which is what I did for those 3 days. I thought, fuck, what is this?
When we started the podcast around the time you were quite ill, and in the back of my mind, I was like, I really hope she fixes up. I really need her to be a guest on this podcast.
And you know, someone wrote to me like on like day 10. And the reason I use the day thing is it's such a big thing when you have corona. The doctors and all, they all talk about it. What day are you? Day 10, someone wrote to me and said, oh, I think I have a gig that we can do. And I was so angry because I was like,
Yeah.
I'm so sick that I wrote fuck off, but I was so tired. I didn't write. I wrote FFU. Oh, fool, and then
What?
collapsed again. Fool, and then collapsed again. And then I think they wrote back question mark. And then when I got better, I wrote them and said, "Oh, sorry, I was just saying fuck off." Like, but we were giving you good news. I'm like, but you don't understand. I was very crazy sick.
I like that you were catching
Ooh.
up with it just to remind them of what they were missed. So tell me this. I know you've been ill, and you're probably the priorities in your life probably changed when you were quite ill. You were like, I just miss my family and just being okay. But the first question
Yeah,
we have is, what do you miss about live stand up?
doing it.
Yeah.
Right. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, I miss.
Okay, next
I guess
question.
yeah, no, but I mean, okay, but well, you know what? I think there's no one thing about live stand up that I miss. I miss the going out and doing it, you know? I miss the whole package that we were in the beginning of March, which is I'm going out to do material. I've got I and I was working on my second show towards
Yeah.
Edinburgh.
Yeah.
Edinburgh's coming. I didn't go last year. I had a sort of a plan and I had stuff I was working. I guess the thing is, what I miss is the certainty.
Okay, explain that.
Because,
What do you mean by that?
well, that you go out in the evenings, you do your gigs, you see how the material goes, and, you're working towards this goal. It's all taken care of.
Yeah.
And this is going to happen, and this is going to happen, and this is going to happen, and this is going to happen. I guess I miss the certainty, but the thing that I miss about live gigging is I miss the thing with stand up is it's really about the audience.
Yeah.
Without an audience, you'll never, if as a stand up, I don't feel like I can ever be sure of my material unless it's been vetted time and again by live audiences in different environments.
I was thinking about this today. It's like Schrodinger's joke. You don't know if it's funny or not
Yeah.
until you say it in front of people. It's like it's still in the
Yeah.
box until you say it in front of an audience.
And I mean, that's why I have such a fascination with YouTubers because
Mm.
they've just been talking into their computer with no response. And somehow they're so great that they understand that it's funny.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
Whereas I'm like, is it funny?
Have you done
And
any
I
live
don't.
gigs? Have you done any online gigs?
I mean, I did a few. Um, I did a chat with Deborah on Instagram Live for
Yeah.
the Guilty Feminist thing, but that wasn't. It was 2 or 3 days since I'd gotten better, and I spoke about some very personal things for the first time in a public platform. That wasn't really a gig. I did with Tiff. I did Old Rope.
Okay, how was that?
What was again a chat, and there were a lot of
Okay.
comments that were coming up. And the thing is, because I can't multitask, if I start reading the comments and I'm not
Yeah.
talking to her anymore, and I was like, wait, what? Who? Why? And then she was like, okay, just focus on me. I was like, oh, sorry. I can't. It was just very weird. And then I did the Infinite Sofa with Stuart
Yeah,
Goldsmith.
okay, yeah. Yeah.
That was fun. But I haven't really gigged into
Yeah.
the computer. And I don't know if that's really something that I mean, I think I know how to make a clip. Like our
Yeah.
friend
Yeah.
Kay Kurt is doing it so well. And
Yeah.
you did that one that I found so funny about immigrants are fine as long as they're willing to die.
Yeah. I got in a lot of trouble for that last week.
Well, but of course, I mean, you're going to get in trouble for that because people don't like being called out. Um, but I think, that's making a little clip.
Yeah.
But to get on and be like, oh, I thought this about my kids. And then no one is there to say something. You're like, okay, I'm going to shut up now.
Yeah.
So I missed that. And I realized, it's something we've, I guess, taken for granted. I realized that is how we work. It's like a goldsmith needs gold.
Yeah. So what are you
We
most
need an
looking forward
audience.
what are you most looking forward to when this is all over and the lockdown's lifted in terms of stand up or anything else for that matter, but particularly stand up?
Oh, just gigging.
Yeah.
I mean, there's going to, we're all going to be beating each other up to get
Yeah.
into can I do 1 minute? Can I do 2 minutes? I could be dying.
Where
Open
do you
mic. Yeah,
think you'll
take
make
me
a
open.
beeline for? Where do you think you'll make a beeline for, gig wise?
Oh, downstairs, the King's Head, Top Secret, 99 Club.
Yeah.
By the way, anyone who'll have me, please don't. If you're just butt fuck open mic, please call me. I'm coming. I don't care. I don't care.
Well,
I'm
because
not,
I
you
know
know.
a lot of people
I
are a bit nervous about that first weekend at one of the bigger clubs because people just think, "Oh, I'm gonna be shit when I come back," because you're like.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I don't mind being shit. I just need to get out there and get it done. I'm very used to being shit. So I'm like, yeah, that's fine. Because being shit is sort of part of the whole game. And it's
Yeah,
like, I'll
Yeah.
die. But dying on stage can only happen if you're living on stage, and which we're not doing right now.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So
So, you know,
that is such a beautiful sentence. You need to get that. That was beautiful. This is why I like Cindy. She's so clever. She says sentences in a way that I don't really understand, but I know they're clever.
अरे मैं कह रही हूँ अगर मरोगे तभी जब जिंदा होगे पहले.
Say about that.
Sorry, that was
What would you?
just to get it through his thick head in another language.
English is my fourth. Where you're only as good as your last gig. Where was it and how was it? Do you remember?
Oh, dude, you know, it was Guilty Feminist, and it was, I think it was let me just check my calendar. I want to say it was Monday the 6th, like that. I meant to say there were 2 episodes back to back. And it was the 16th and 18th I got my symptoms.
So do you feel
I
like
mean,
that
not
kind
that they were
of
related, but
that live podcast scenario was that stand up or was that a live podcast?
no, it was stand up, and there
Okay,
was an
cool, cool, cool.
audience, and I did the stand up, and then, you know, we did the chat.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, I did material.
How
And
how did it go?
well, I mean, it was fewer people than normal, which of course for Guilty Feminist means there was only 200 people, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
It went fine. I mean, at that point I was, because I'd been in South Africa doing the comedy festival till the 9th. And
Mm.
I want to say that I came back and I was like, oh, you know, I don't think I'm going to gig. So I did, I had to miss a big gig on the 15th.
Mm.
I'm going to see. Wow, no, that got canceled. Yes, yeah, that, you know what? I didn't do that many gigs. I did the Albany. I probably did 4 gigs between the 9th of March and the 16th, which is unusual because
Okay.
otherwise I
Yeah,
would gig every single day.
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. And I did my work in progress at the Pleasance.
Because your tour finished, right? You'd finished touring.
Well, the last date was postponed because I had to go back to India in November
Okay, yeah.
for
Okay.
mummy. And so the last date was on the 23rd of March, but that got canceled.
Yeah,
So
okay.
it's like the whole tour minus one date.
Yeah.
And then, yeah. So,
So talk to me now about material, kind of your writing process. How do you normally write material and how do you test it? What works for you?
well, you know, I mean, you've known me since I've been doing this since I've started pretty much. I used to write stuff because I thought that's the way to do it.
Mm.
And then I would go and do it at open mic. But what I realized was that the moment I got on stage, I would ditch what I'd written and I would just go with the intuition behind the material.
Right. Okay.
And that
Yeah.
the jokes were more in my voice when I was effectively writing on stage, if you see what I mean.
Mm.
So what I started doing when I became a little bit more confident, I guess, is I just go on stage now with, I wouldn't say I go on stage, like I wouldn't go to a pro gig just with thoughts, but I would have thoughts and I would have worked them into, like I would know how I was ending the bits.
Yeah, so
Okay, so you'd
like
have the punchline.
Yeah,
and a
I'd have the
premise.
punchline or the punch thought,
Hmm.
and then I record it. But so I'm actually very focused on stage. I'm actually writing in real time. And it's almost, I got to be honest with you, it's the only way that works for me because the amount of stuff that comes out when I'm not thinking about it, but when I'm doing it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I do now is if I'm at open mic or if I'm at a new material night, then I just go with it. Say, you guys, you know, blah blah blah. They're just intuitions, but I still record that. And then if it's a bit further along from there, then I record it and I come back and I listen to it, which is painful because I hate listening to myself. But it helps me edit because you know how I am, Eshaan. Um, we've gigged so much together. I have very long setups,
Mm. Yeah,
and
they're
then
very long.
very
Very,
long.
very long. Sorry.
Anyway, I have very long setups, and then if I'm lucky, I have a huge payoff. So people forget that for the previous 7 minutes, they were like, where the fuck is this going? They forget that. They're like, ah, ha, ha, ha. And it's fine. But
Yeah.
as I've moved along, I've realized that it's possible to shorten those setups so you're getting to the big laughs quicker.
Okay.
So to do that, you have to go back and listen and just cut stuff out. I do.
Vittorio,
So I do my writing on stage, basically.
Vittorio, you were going to say something, I think.
Well, it's just this interesting thing about like one going on with premise punchline, and I think everyone so far in the show has said when they try and write out word for word what they're gonna say, it comes out sounding really like robotic and not
Yeah.
in your voice, which is what you said, which is really interesting. Um, but then the thing about that listening back thing, when you initially said recorded, I was gonna say, is that just audio or is that video as
No,
well?
audio.
And then do you listen to it? Because I listen to it on the journey.
Can't listen. Blah. I would never listen to it on the way back from a gig.
Mm.
I only listen to murder podcasts, and so I always listen to a murder podcast on the way back from a gig. Today I was listening to a murder podcast while I was cooking, and the kids kept coming in and out, and I was like, "Get out! I need to know who did the thing. Get out!" And they were like, "Why are you so salty?" And I'm like, "I'm not salty.
Salty.
I'm trying to find out why this guy did the murder. He was taken to jail when he was 11. You need to get out of the kitchen." And they were like, "We just need a glass of water." I'm like, "I don't know. Go into the garden. Get out. No water here." But anyway, so I like to listen to these murder podcasts, and I need, like, it's when I've done a gig, I've done my thing, and I'm on my way home, then I listen to that. So I never listen back to my podcast, to my gig. I will listen to it the next. It depends how much pressure I'm under.
Mm-hmm.
If I've got to get this bit ready for something, or then I do it quicker. Otherwise, I mean, I hate listening back to myself. So I
How do
try
you do it
not
quicker?
to.
In those pressure situations, how do you do it quicker? What's different?
I focus. Or what my Belgian friend Kenya used to say, I focus. I focus. Sindhu, let us focus on this. I was like, no, it's focus, Kenya, it's focus.
Why does she have a
also,
list?
he did.
Oh.
He's a he. And also
sorry.
I remember his name was Kenya Rose, great friend. Kenya, if you're listening to this, hello.
Kenya, as in the country.
Uh-huh.
Oh.
And so he used to say, because he was so French, Francophone, Belgian, whatever, and he used to say, he once said, my aunt is coming. I said, you what? He said, my aunt. And I said, your aunt? And it was aunt, obviously. And then he then said once to me, because we were at university together, I was spitting, of course. I had eaten something. I was like, and I spat it. And he said, don't spit in the bush. What? And then I made up a rhyme. So every time Kenya Rose would walk past me, I would say, and then my aunt was pushed in a bush. And he never got it. He was like, and then what happened in the story? I'm like, it's not a story. I'm mocking you.
One thing I've always really admired about you from a comedic perspective is that from the moment we worked together very much from the beginning together. However you regaled your tales and stories to me, they weren't that different on stage.
No.
So what I find interesting is, when life happens, are you editing for stand-up in that moment, or does it happen afterwards?
You know, what happens is something will happen, I'll tell a story, and then that's the most natural and funniest time, is when that thing is just happening. Like I just told you about although my aunt, and also used to say although instead of although. So it was although my aunt was pushed in a bush. Fuck us. That became the nursery rhyme around this guy. Anyway, but no, I think what it is I don't know. I think what happens is something funny happens, and then I'll go on stage and I'll tell it.
Yeah.
And then I'll listen to it, and then we'll start making it stand up.
Fine. Okay.
And then cutting it out, because there's a lot of umming and eyeing and getting that down, and then finally really getting it so tight, like the tour show Sandhog. It's very lean. Any fat on it, because I didn't, like, I've done it. How many times I did it, in Edinburgh and then on tour, and then, you know what I mean? So that is just, this is very lean, unlike me after quarantine eating, by the way. So not lean. But
this is Sindhu's version of not lean, by the way. Look at her. She
Christ
still looks
almighty.
like someone needs to send £2 a month.
Hey, Bhagwan. Can I send you 2 pounds, but like my weight pounds? Just take it. Anyway, so yeah, so I think that's the thing is that it because I was looking at some notebooks of mine from 2015, twenty
Yeah. Okay.
sixteen, and because I was trying to do material recently for what was that? I don't know for what. I was looking at material that I hadn't done on TV, that I hadn't done in my tour. And you remember the material about the balloons and buying
Yes.
them in India?
Yes.
I haven't
Very
done that
funny.
anywhere, right?
Yeah.
I just kind of dropped it. So I went back and my God, the notes from that on that material from 2015, like a PhD. And I'm like, you
Re-
moron, you don't have to say all those things.
Yeah.
Just get
Just
to,
do it.
just but the thing is now it's become well, not now because obviously I'm not gigging, but po- touring. I think touring can make you very lazy
Mm.
because people have come to see you, they bought the tickets, they're gonna laugh.
Mm.
So it can
I've
make you
done some
very,
tour support for people where that is not the case.
yeah, well, you mean they didn't laugh at you or they didn't laugh at them?
Oh, of course they laughed at me. Are you kidding? Come on.
Anyway, no, but I'm just saying that so it can make you lazy, but it can also, if you sidestep that, you become a better comic in the sense I have I I'm less afraid now when I go on stage of like, oh shit, is this gonna work? Oh my God, oh my, I was like that for years. I'd be on stage and the material would be coming out. My brain would be like, oh my God, I'm on stage. Am I gonna die? What the fuck?
Mm.
But now I'm much more relaxed. And so I can focus on the material and get to the punchlines quicker and move around. You know what I mean? I think that just takes practice. I don't think that's a magic thing. I think it's just practice.
Yeah.
I think you get really good at some of the rhythms of stand up and you get better at editing yourself in the ways that you need to and practice, which is again why I miss which is what I miss about not being able to go out live. I think that my proficiency as a stand up is being um held back
Mm.
because I can't gig. It's just like if but then again, look at my kids, their proficiency in basic studies is being held back. I mean, they're becoming morons. I'm
I
just like,
was
what are you doing?
I was trying to
I
write
mean,
a
now
bit
that
about that as
the
well.
language at home is just something happened like this morning, and it was something embarrassing, but that word didn't come up. My son was like, bruh moment. I was like, what? He said, yeah, bruh moment. And then the other kids were like, yeah. And I was like, that's not even words. That's it's not English.
Listen, we're all regressing at the moment. I put my hoodie on the wrong way round, and I spent way too long
No,
thinking I
yeah,
was
I saw.
blind. I was just like, everything's dark. What's
But
happened?
I'm worried about those like primary school kids who are gonna like miss out on the letter J. Do you know, like they're gonna go through life and someone's gonna be like J and they're gonna be like what? Like
No,
H
they're gonna be like,
I
no,
K L M N N O
exactly.
B.
Exactly. No, but I mean, it's crazy. Like we just started doing decimals with the baby, The baby's 10 now. 9. Yeah, 9, 10. And whatever, like that age. And we started doing decimals, and all of a sudden it's like, what's a decimal for half? She's like 0.03. I'm like, okay, no, just get your book out. 0.03. But I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
and then
But I feel like that's happening in stand up for me.
what I was gonna ask about stand up is like a lot of people I speak to have this idea, and it's a lot of people that have been on courses and things talk about like persona and your stage persona. Whereas my thing with stand up has always been to be as myself as possible at all times. Do you feel like you have a persona, or do you feel like you're yourself?
I think those two things are not interchangeable, as in they're not. I think that comparison, in my opinion, um, is you're not comparing equal things. And this is what I mean is the following: that my persona is really what I'm talking about. Why am I saying those things? And as I work out on stage what those things are, and and you see me constantly going to those things, I go to them in a very honest way. So that's me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I'm myself, but my persona is probably exactly who I am in real life as well, but my point of view it gets narrowed down so that you think, oh, because the thing is when you're on stage, you have a limited amount of time and you're trying to make a point in a way,
Hmm.
you're trying to create a joke, make a point. So my POV, my point of view is I'm a tough mom or I'm a wife that doesn't back down. Those are parts of my point of view.
Hmm.
But so the word persona for me is a weird one. I think of point of view, and how much you're yourself. I'm very much myself. You can ask Ishan. There's very, I have never, like, one of the things I don't talk about much on stage is race. Um, I mean, it comes up that I'm Indian, but just in passing, really. And
Is that
as huh?
is that a conscious choice you've made to avoid
Well,
talking?
that's what I'm saying, that when it first started, and I would never talk about it, and then I was asked by various people as a BAME comic, as a BAME comic, as a BAME comic. I thought, I don't really say BAME things.
Mm.
And then I realized that what was going on was I hadn't grown up here. I don't
Right. Yeah.
want
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
be like everyone else. In fact, I don't want to be English at all. In fact, I'm upset how much they've integrated my kids. I'm like, what? Just leave them alone. They're going to become angry and bad at math. Leave it. Anyway,
Being English, angry and bad at maths.
not to stereotype or anything, but so that's what I realized is I grew up in India where everyone was more or less like me. So I don't objectify myself in contrast to white people.
Hmm.
I'm a foreigner, and I'm the first person to put up my hand and say I'm a foreigner. Dude, I was not planning to live in England. I love it. This country's been very good to me, but I came here with a job to have a visa because I didn't really want to get married at the time. And then I married someone who's Scandinavian. He couldn't go to India because, like, the first time he gets food poisoning, he'll die. So it's like I'm like a foreigner who kind of is here by not, it just kind of happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm very grateful. Like I say, I think the UK is a wonderful place for me to have, ended up outside India. But so I don't have race stuff going on in my head. I'm like, I'm not like you. I don't want you to treat me like you. And in my heart, I'll always be Indian
Mm.
because
Hmm.
I lived there till I was in my early 20s.
This
Mm.
is a heavy question that comes from, I think it's George Bernard Shaw said that, and I think it's similar with a lot of people. As soon as you leave Ireland, you sacrifice your right to a home forever. So, like in England, I'm the Irish guy, but
Mm.
back home, I'm now the guy that moved to London. So, in neither
Oh, that's a
place
big
am I
thing for
fully
me.
accepted as part of the place.
And that's a big thing. I mean, my entire routine about that whole bit I do about the balloons, which I was
Yeah.
mentioning to Ishan, is really about how I'm what we call in India, dhobi ka kutta na ghar ka na ghat ka,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is the washerman's dog doesn't belong at home and doesn't belong where you wash clothes. So in my case, well, washerman's bitch. But just to be clear, so yeah, I mean, when I go to India, I'm the one who left. I'm
Hmm.
the one who's, a non-resident. I'm the one who married a foreigner. But when I'm here, they're like, "So what do you have to say about being brown?" I'm like, "Nothing,
Yeah.
nothing. I
The
don't have it."
Guardian.
Like I am bigger than where I come from is like I just like it's Victor Patriscan. I don't know if you've gigged with him. Has a really
Yeah.
funny bit where he says,
Oh
"Back
yeah,
in Romania, I was just a guy, but now I'm a
yeah,
Romanian guy." And I
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
true.
Exactly, exactly. I haven't seen Victor for ages. Um, Victor is one of those people who's so quietly handsome.
quietly, what's
You
loudly
know what I mean?
handsome?
What
No,
me?
loudly
I'm
handsome.
loudly handsome, right?
No, you're just loudly. Shut up.
Oh wow. Okay.
नहीं तुम हो वैसे बहुत प्यारे. But no, you know what I mean? Like quietly handsome and loudly handsome is people like, I don't know, like
Chris
those
Hemsworth.
Helmsley, those Hemsworth brothers.
Yeah.
That's
Mm.
exactly
Yeah.
what I was going to say. Oh my God, we're telepathic.
Oh my god. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, those Hemsworth, they're so loudly handsome. It's like, shut up.
It's aggressive.
Yeah, it's like stop it. But
Is
Victor,
do you
he's
think
so
Vittorio?
quietly.
Do you think Vittorio is loudly or quietly handsome?
Victor's obviously quietly handsome. He hasn't barely said anything on this fucking thing at all. You can't really accuse him of being loud.
Right. You can ask questions on YouTube. So
I
please
can.
do ask.
I
No,
don't know
you
how to
can't.
do it.
I'm
Oh,
talking
I
about the
can. Sorry.
guests.
Oh, sorry.
We have got one question come through.
Okay. One so far. Come on, you guys. Ask something.
It's because you're very interesting. You kind of cover off all the points. Tegra has asked, do people you reference in your comedy ever recognize themselves?
Oh my God. Who's asked this?
Someone called Tegra. Don't know.
Tegra, listen. Please listen to me. I didn't have this problem for a very long time because I used to only talk about myself and my kids. But as I've gotten into my comedy, I feel I now have things to say about some friends of mine, some girlfriends of mine, some close girlfriends of mine. And I love them dearly, but I, they're kind of substandard. Like I've just come to understand that, which is fine in a way. But as I've gotten older
What,
and I want
like
to
as
lean on these
humans,
girls,
or
they're
like?
I'm like, I've really scrutinized them. I'm like, God, like you're pretty sad. You know why? How did I not notice? How have I managed with you guys so far? So that's become a bit of an
I
issue
think they were
because
watching. They've all left. No,
no, but that's the thing is I want to talk about that. And I've tried to disguise them, but then the particular issues that they have are very specific. Like one of them, she's never gonna watch this. She's a 9. Let me tell you, she's a 9. Like on any standard, she's a 9.
yeah.
But the guy that she, what? Why am I whispering? I mean, it's not like it's a secret.
You're on YouTube
But
and you're
the guy,
whispering.
but the guy that she's
Keep
picked to be
whispering.
her,
Keep whispering.
okay, the guy that she's picked to be her life partner. What's this? His name is Tegra. Her name is
Yeah.
Tegra.
Tegra, yeah.
Tegra, listen to me. The guy that she's picked to be her life partner, he is at best a 6. At best. And for years we put up with this. Okay, fine. But also, he's not very nice to her. You mustn't do that. He's not very nice to her. And he's a bit arrogant. And then, on top of everything else, he has the audacity to have a food intolerance.
Nah. What's the intolerance though?
Oh, who the fuck?
Intolerance.
Something with nuts, blah, blah, nuts.
That's
You know what I
me.
mean? And here's the problem, Tiger, is I want to go on stage. I want to talk about how difficult this is and how as I've gotten older, I have boundaries now, you know, and I don't,
Yeah.
and I feel like I should let her go. I should maybe edit her from my life because I want to respect her choices, but I also want to respect myself. You know how many meals I've had to miss because of this moron? You know, and because the whole time that he's been awful to her, he's really been awful to me as well. It's like a joint thing.
Yeah.
But I've been wondering about this and thinking, how, you know, should I edit her? But I can't. She's like been my friend for 25 years.
Yeah.
So I was thinking maybe like what should I do? But then I don't want to talk about it too openly because, you know, then she might find out. But I thought, you know what, I'll just invite them over, put some nuts in the salad and see what happens to this bastard. frankly, she's a 9. She'll be fine.
That's the
thing
problem. I
is-
don't like stuff going unsaid with my friends. Like if I think they're going out with someone or they're with someone that I really don't think is good for them or good for anyone, I don't want to be in a position where I've had it where I hadn't liked someone's girlfriend and then they broke up and I was like, yeah man, that was probably a good thing. She wasn't very nice. And then they got back together and I couldn't talk to that guy anymore.
Yeah, but you see, the thing is with women is it's not that I have the capacity to experience so many microaggressions from my girlfriends that it would be impossible for me to deal with them.
You
I
also
would
have
have
the
to kill
capacity
that person.
You also have the capacity to give a lot of microaggressions.
Huge.
Macroaggressions, perhaps.
Massive.
Macro.
Microaggressions are everything from like, I have a friend who has never really forgiven me for marrying my husband. It's been 22 years. Yeah. She always
Why?
because she thinks it's not a good match. We've been together 22 years, but she thinks it's not a good match. So, you know, she's one of my best friends, and I know I see it in her eyes every time she comes over. She comes, she stays with us. She thinks it's a shitty match. So every time I've been unhappy in my marriage, which is not infrequent, I've been married 22 years, and I've told her, she's been like, and then when it gets better, she's always like, oh, her whole life has been to prove to me that I made a bad choice. And it's like, dude, give it up, but she won't, and I respect that. But I don't. You know what I mean? It's like microaggressions all the time.
The thing
All the
about
time.
the thing about referencing people that you know and hoping they don't recognize you, I've grappled with this a lot. There's one particular bit of material I really want to try and work out is whenever you work in an office, there's always the really big person who every day eats salad for lunch.
No,
Right.
that's wrong. Don't talk about them. They'll know it's
But this
them.
is the thing. In every office I've worked in, I've always worked with someone who's always eating salad, and I've been there 3-4 years, and nothing changes. And I'm
That's
just
because
thinking,
That's so mad. You
that's
work in
because
so many
that's
offices with
that's what
mirrors in
they
the
eat in
lunchroom.
front of you,
that's like mad.
and then they
What?
go. That's what they eat in front of you. Then when they go home,
Yeah. So it's just the why keep up the charade? Because we can all see that
I
when
just
you
don't know.
leave.
I don't know why there's so many mirrors in your lunchrooms. Like I don't.
I don't eat salad. No chance.
no chance.
There's no
No
chance.
chance.
Right. So that leads us nicely onto material. Are there any ideas that you were working on before we went into lockdown that you want to talk about, or anything new that's happened that you're like, I can't wait to talk about this? Because there'll be some comedians who'll talk about, oh, wasn't lockdown tough? But I suspect you're probably going to have quite an interesting perspective there.
I mean, lockdown is tough. It's not tough. What the look? We don't have an option. You know me. I'm not someone who gets put in a fait accompli and then says I'm in a fait accompli. I'm like, okay, fine. This is what we're doing. Let's make the best of it. I'll tell you one thing that is bothering me, and I was telling you guys just before this thing we started up was there's a big culture in South Asia of playing cards. Obviously, maybe not with. Do Muslims play card, or you guys think it's like gambling, right?
Some people play cards. I play
Some
cards.
people do.
Yeah.
So Hindu families, it's fine. My father's family, South India, they don't play cards, but North India we do, and it's a big thing you do when you're bored. You play cards, play gin rummy, and there's a game called Declare and so on.
Yeah.
And there's a few small pokery games. And my two teenagers, I thought nothing to do in the afternoon, especially when I was first getting better and couldn't move much. So I said, let's play cards. Giving them these wide open options to cheat, and these two children don't cheat. So I was like, wait, I don't understand. What is wrong with them? Like I'm literally making it like I'm holding my cards like this, and my daughter's like, "Don't show me your cards." I'm like, and then I realized they're not prepped to cheat.
And you think it's a bad thing?
Well, for the following reason is
That's a yes.
it's cards. Like it's gambling already.
Hmm.
Like it's not like you're doing any holy Mother Mary, Jesus, Allah, God, Hindu, nothing. You're not doing anything pure. You're already gambling.
Right.
And then you have the option to, it's not an exam, it's like read the room. You're already gambling. You're getting a chance to cheat and win. Why the fuck are you not taking it? And then I think, my kids, what's going to happen to them in the real world?
I love that you're
They're going to
angry.
go into a poker game and they're not going to win, even though they could cheat. I mean, they're going to last a second. So I then said to them,
maybe
no.
the dopamine hit of like playing it legally and succeeding.
Have you ever cheated? The dopamine hit from winning by cheating is 10,000 times the dopamine hit of winning.
I love that you're just
Are
like,
you mad?
fuck, I can't believe my kids respect me. This is awful.
No. So then I asked them, I said, why are you not cheating? And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, okay. And they're like, well, because it's, there's all this English. Like I said, they're so English integrated. They're like, well, because when you play, it's not nice. And I'm like, no. This is not cricket. It's cards. This is gambling. This is already kind of, not very clean stuff. So you can get really dirty and then win. And they looked at me like, oh my God, shoot me in the face. But it turns out that they genuinely don't understand that in some situations you have to cheat because you're already in that dark room. Do you see what I mean?
Okay? Can you give me more examples?
We're
workshopping here. What if I'm in a dark room with a woman?
No, stop that. Just stop it. I don't know I don't know. But let me put it to you this way. Say you're in a dark room and you're an assassin and you have to murder someone. You've gone in, you shot them.
What a scenario.
This is real relatable content.
It's what you do. It's what you do, right? Now, but you're not like government assassin. You're not Mossad or MI6 or CIA. You're just like a regular regular assassin guy. Or woman. So now you've murdered them. Then there's massive diamonds sitting right there. Right. And how could you leave without taking diamonds? You already murdered the guy. You're already there for illegal things. Just take the diamonds and then just like have it better. It's kind of the
Because
same
then if you
analogy.
get caught, you'll be on two charges, one of murder and of theft.
The theft, no one, because for murder, you're in for life. But if you don't get caught, then you have the diamonds and you can have a yacht and a private jet
Do you
because you're
think?
already in the murder business.
To draw attention to the fact that you were stacking shells.
Because no, but you have a accounting firm. You already have an outside thing.
Okay.
Yeah, you got somewhere
Yeah,
to
but that's what
launder
I'm
it.
saying. I don't understand. So I've been sort of, but then again, I don't want to teach my kids to cheat because I don't believe in cheating. You mustn't cheat your friends and stuff. So I've been trying to figure out how. But I've also been
That was said
thinking
in the
about
most
how.
non-committal way. You mustn't cheat your friends.
Yeah, but like you mustn't. Like that's not cool, right? Anyway, and so I've been thinking, how did I and all my cousins and all my know this? Like
Yeah, how
how did?
did you?
And then because we watched our mothers play cards and they all cheated. We're not
Yeah.
stupid. My kids are not around enough cheaters and good cheaters, like honest cheaters. You know what I mean? Like family cheaters to really understand how the game works.
Is there a culture of
So
cheat? Victoria, is there a culture of kind of cheating during board games or whatever in Irish communities?
No,
I
not
mean,
that
if you
I've
can cheat,
experienced.
you
I was
cheat.
gonna say, Ishan. I was gonna ask if it's an English thing to see cards as like in any way dirty or dark, because cards in Ireland is just cards. Like that's just there's nothing. There's no negative connotations to
No,
playing cards.
poker.
Literally none. Like gambling, who cares? Ireland's a very
Oh,
wild
right,
and
right.
free country.
I
No,
mean,
it's considered immoral in good Hindu
Okay.
families.
yeah. So there's two things. Like growing up, my mum would never let me play cards, right? Because
Mm.
she thought that was the preserve of seedier people and seedier communities. So I would never have had that thing. But the culture of cheating was very prevalent.
Yeah.
So like we'd play Ludo or Scrabble or whatever board, Snakes and Ladders, for example, and mum would find a way to cheat
How do
in
you
order to
cheat at snakes and ladders? That's so impressive.
you're just like, I rolled a six, and you're like,
Yeah, I
no,
rolled a
mum,
six.
that's a two, and then she'd be like, I'm your mother, slap me across the face, and she
Yeah,
rolled a six.
that's a six. Do you want another five? Do you? Yeah.
Once I remember in Bangladesh, we were playing this Ludo game, lasted maybe 2.5 hours. And
Oh
my
shit.
my brother-in-law was just about to win. At that point, my mom went, "Oh, it's quite late," and flipped over the board. And everybody was like, "We spent 2.5 hours on this fucking game."
There you go. Yeah, there you go. But then I suppose I'm also a little bit of me is, I mean, I'm conflicted because I'm proud of the children. They don't think of like they want to win properly. So
What's
in
your
fact,
concern
it's
about
made
real
me
life,
not.
though? What's your concern
Yeah,
about real life?
you need to be street savvy. If you're in a poker game and you're not cheating, you're an idiot.
I'm fucked.
Yeah, Vittorio, start cheating. Come on, don't make me have to come over there wherever you are. Where are you? You're in Ireland.
I'm in Belfast right now. Yeah.
I'm coming to Belfast to give you one if you don't start cheating.
So, do you think you're gonna, when you come out, this is one of the things you're going to talk about is how your
I think
kids.
I'm going to talk about how the quarantine, because with teenagers you don't spend this kind of time with them,
Mm.
Yeah,
and I think the having Corona sent me to a place of very sort of. I've never been that unwell around my children,
right.
so it was kind of a. I sort of went into a very. I went to my roots, and it was not related to the children, not related to my husband. It was very much my Indian roots, and sitting in the sun and having turmeric and playing cards is one of the things we do when we're literally not when a lot of convalescence in India is tash khelo, tash khelo, tash khelo, play cards.
Yeah.
And so these things all would have come about because of quarantine, because of Corona, and they've given me insight into the children.
Do you think that's
You
because
know,
you allowed yourself, or like not allowed yourself, were forced to be vulnerable in front of them, maybe for the first time?
That's a good
um,
question. Yeah.
yeah, I suppose, not thought about it, but they did see me very unwell, and they saw me not coming into the kitchen, not coming anywhere, and my husband bringing food to me, and they saw him worried about me. They saw them taking my oxygen when the breathing stuff happened. So I think they were a bit like, oh. And I think because they're older, you see, you can be like that on a 5-year-old, but they don't get it.
Mm.
But when you're 18 and 16,
It's more,
I
yeah,
think
it's real.
I
Yeah.
think they worried a little. But of course, I mean, when they would make a lot of noise, I would literally hobble to the front of the just to the door of my bedroom, and I would scream and I would say, "जब मैं इस कमरे से बाहर आऊंगी ना, तुम लोग देख लेना."
When I
Which
get
was
out of this
when,
room, watch what I
yeah,
do.
you wait, and when I get out of this room, you wait, and there'd be silence. My husband would be like, "Oh my God, they're so scared of you." I'm like, "Yeah." So they knew I was still mommy, but at the same time, I think they thought, "Wow, she's," and a couple of times I think I'd been crying because there's parts of Corona that are very painful, and I've never been in unwell or incapacitated or physically vulnerable in this way and not had my mother around. And my mother
Mm.
passed away in November, somewhat suddenly. So I think that one of the kids, like, they would bring me food and they would leave it outside the door. And I think a couple of times they saw that I looked not myself. So I do think that they picked it up.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I do think so. I mean, I don't think it's something, I mean, I haven't asked them about it. And we certainly aren't a family. Like, I did come down the first day, I didn't have a fever. And I was like, oh, I'm so happy I didn't die. And they were like, okay, take it down a notch. They think I'm a little OTT emotionally.
So there's one question just linking off the back of that. You don't have to answer this if you don't want to, and I will completely understand why. Do you foresee a time where you might write material about your mother's passing? It's only been 4.5 months, so I can't imagine you're going to be able to. But is it a thought that's crossed your mind at all? No. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I can, I've only ever processed everything in my life through humor.
Yeah.
So this will go through that process.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know when.
Yeah. Yeah. It took me a while. I I did, but at some point, like, okay, now we've got a question from Ezzy. When your Indian discipline bit, this links very nicely to you threatening your kids. When your Indian discipline bit started popping up everywhere, did you get any backlash?
There were some people who said, "Oh, this is so." What there were people who wrote all kind of ranted about it a bit,
Yeah.
like, this is awful, and this woman is saying you should beat your kids, and blah blah blah. But Izzy, I don't pay attention to that stuff
Uh,
because I mean, everyone gets a backlash for everything. When you're a stand-up,
exactly.
your middle name should be Sindhu. Please give me backlash V. Eshaan, please give me backlash Akbar, because
Yeah.
that's how it works.
Yeah. I know the answer to this next question that's come through, but you can answer it yourself. Have you ever discarded a bit because even though it was very funny, you knew you couldn't say it in front of a broader audience?
Yes.
Are you going to disclose any of those bits now or no?
No, I think there are certain bits that I could do in India, which have to do with South Asian politics as a whole,
Yeah.
which
Is
I couldn't do here because people here are very, in India, you can make fun of those things, whereas you can't make fun of them here because it's out of context,
Mm.
yeah.
it's out of
Is-
context, and so there's no point.
What's your school of thought? Do you feel like you can joke about anything, or are you a bit more like, no, there's certain topics that you shouldn't joke about. Anybody shouldn't joke
Um, I think if you're a stand-up, you have, as long as you live in a society where you can say what you want, I I think you're free to talk about what you want,
about.
but it better be funny.
Yeah.
And one of the things is if you keep on going down the provocative road, you'll come to topics where it's almost impossible to be funny because the universal experience of, hold on, I'm on a Zoom call, but I can't, like, I literally cannot right now. I'm talking to them.
Backhand.
What do you need? Okay, ask your father. Like, 1 hour a week. It's like, where Where's
That
your
is
father?
so fun. That's the first time that's happened.
Coming back to the discipline thing, I meant to say this. My brain's tied two things together. Is there something funny about the first time your kids knew that you were properly ill was when you were like, you didn't even hit them?
Yeah, yeah.
No, no, it's when I didn't come downstairs.
Yeah,
Ah,
yeah,
They
yeah.
were like, where the hell is she? Because I'm always downstairs and getting stuff done and telling them to wash their face, and your hair is not made, and you got shit grades in the math test. I wasn't around. They were like,
their self-esteem was growing, and you were like,
No.
and they were like, "Mum's not well. Our self-esteem is getting better."
you know what? You know what? I refuse to buy that because the fact is, it's not about the idea that your parents, like I say to them, you think I'm being mean to you. It's nothing compared to what the world will do. The world doesn't give a shit about you. I give a shit about you. I'm your mother. If I tell you you look like a slob and you look like shit, it's coming from a place of love. The world is not even going to pay attention to you. You're going to be a loser. And they're like, okay, fine, we're going to change it. Just
And they're
calm
like,
down.
"I'm 6."
Yeah, exactly. They're like, I'm 5. Why are you complaining?
A
It's like
fucking
the first time I
loser.
remember I said to my mother, I think I want to be an actress.
Yeah.
And my mother said, actress? Why don't you go straight to prostitute? And I was like, what? And I remember saying to her, oh, sorry, too, but what does that mean? And she said, I have to teach you everything. And I was like, yeah, but I'm 6. I had no idea what you're talking about. But I genuinely was like, but Mummy Mato, I'm 6. Like, go and ask your father. So I went to my dad, who's like, don't listen to your mom.
Anyway,
But
we were
anyways,
rudely interrupted by one of your kids. We were
what were
talking
we
about
talking about? I know, I'm so sorry. What were we talking about?
whether you
Oh yeah,
discuss.
about whether you can joke about everything.
Yeah.
So if you keep going down the provocative road, you will get to topics which is very hard to be funny about
Hmm.
Mm.
because there is a pooling of human pain around that is very difficult as one individual to turn into humor.
Hmm.
You see what I mean?
Okay.
So what then happens is your joke works in some rooms, but not in other rooms, or with some audiences, but not other audiences. So in
Hmm.
my opinion, you want to joke about it, that's fine.
Hmm.
Is it going to be robustly funny? Because that's my big test. When I'm funny, it better be funny across.
Mm.
Sometimes people don't find you funny because they don't find you funny. That's fine.
Yeah.
But as a topic, I never have something where I can't say it, no matter what room I'm in. I try and stay away from that.
I've had a bit
What?
like that recently that I was wondering if you guys could potentially help with because it was kind of I'd only started doing it maybe a month before the lockdown happened, and it was at that point where it was like it was either a smash or a death, and it was never anything in between. It was going great or it
Mm,
was going terribly. And it was basically
Mm.
this idea that like I think we should talk about depression
Mm.
because people keep telling me that men need to get better at talking about their mental health,
Mm.
and we should just talk about it like it's our physical health. Like same way you'd be like, oh, I had the flu. You should just be like, oh, I had depression because it's just a chemical imbalance.
Yeah.
And then I was like, but if that's the case, women need to get better at responding because I had the flu last week and I went into my girlfriend. I was like, I've got the flu, and she was like, it's just man flu. Like,
Right.
get the
Yeah.
fuck away from me.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just a
Yeah.
cold. What if
Yeah.
I go in next
Grow
week and
up.
I'm like, I've got depression, and she's like, get the fuck away from me. And also, it's man depression. You're just a bit sad. Like, what are you
Yeah. Yeah.
talking
Yeah.
about? And that was just, it was either fucking smash or like, everyone was like, holy fuck. Like, that's brutal.
No, I think that's very good. But I will tell you, Victoria, I think the intuition behind that is right. But I think you have to dig deeper to get the really funny out of it.
Mm.
You've just touched the
Yeah,
surface, and that's a very
100%.
fun that's a very
Yeah. It's a fun premise. Yeah.
smart way of thinking about it. Because actually, women do mock men all the time. This man flu thing is like always.
Yeah.
Mm.
But if it was depression, then it would be if you think of all the things that get said to women when they're PMSy, always at the time of month, or you
Mm.
know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So similarly, what would be the things? I think it's very funny, but I don't think depression is something you can't talk about. When I think of topics you can't talk about, I think of other things. I
What
but
about
yeah,
the time? What about the time argument though? So, for example, if someone wanted to make a joke where the punchline is the Holocaust, for example, or 9/11, or whatever, doesn't time pass enough for you to be able to have that as a punchline or as a joke?
You can, but it better be funny. And so that's why I can't comment on it standing here. I have to hear the joke.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm not, by the way, you can joke about whatever you like. If it's funny, it's funny.
Yeah, there's nothing off limits.
I
Before
You
haven't.
the
know,
joke happens.
Dave Chappelle has a great bit about his views on the women that made the allegations against Louis C.K.
Mm.
Yeah.
You know, he has a great bit about why didn't you hang up the phone? It's
Yeah,
very
yeah.
funny,
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
controversial, but very funny.
Yeah, I mean
And I was like, fair enough, you know, that's funny.
that was the whole sticks and stones thing for him.
Yeah.
That whole
Yeah,
special
and I
was.
mean, I think, you know, that's a very difficult thing. And I don't think it's just words. It's also that it's Dave Chappelle, and it's also where in the set he puts it, and it's the way that he carries it,
Yeah.
and all that stuff. But it just shows that something can be made funny, which is very controversial or very difficult, and which many people would say is just not funny. So, but if I'm asked, is there something you can't joke about? No, but make it fun.
Make it funny. That feels like a good natural place to end, I think.
I can't believe we got 2 questions.
No, we
We
didn't.
got
We
3.
got 1, 2, 3 questions.
What's the 3rd question?
We did all of them.
We did all of them.
3 questions. I feel like I should be more mysterious. People don't fucking want to know anything about me. They're like, yeah,
No,
well,
it's-
blah, blah, blah.
It's just you're so eloquent. All bases are covered. You're a victim of your own success.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. I'll take that.
Okay, fine, I'll take that. Guys, this has been Doing Bits Live with Sindhu V. You can, of course, listen to it on Catch Up on all the good places that you get your podcast. It's also going to be available on YouTube. Make sure you follow all the people that were on this episode. Myself, Eshaan Akbar, Vittorio Angelone, and Sindhu V Comedy on Twitter.
And subscribe to
Sindhu V
this
on
YouTube
Instagram.
so you get a little notification when we go live next week as well.
Yeah, make sure you do.
And thank you for having me. This was so fun.
Very nice to
Thank
meet
you. We hope kind of got your brain whirring again on material front and thinking.
I'm going to
about
go
things.
play some cards on kids and shout at them. Also, what did she want? I don't know. It's a baby. She came in with a sign. I was like, no.
What was on the
Not to
sign?
go. I don't know. I didn't read it. I was like, no. We're going to go find out. It's probably something about ice cream or something.
Help. It
Some
just says
big
help.
negotiation, I'm sure. I'm sure some
Please
big
give me
negotiation.
ice cream.
No, yesterday I had this, and then the day before yesterday you said this, and I'm like, oh God. You know, she's gonna grow up and go and she's gonna grow up and like be the head of the United Nations or something. Something that involves a lot of talking where only she's benefiting from her tax-free income and everyone else getting fucked.
Yeah.
That's her.
I'm glad you know your daughter so well.
And I know the United Nations, the way they work. Anyway,
Yeah, fine.
okay. On that pleasant note,
Bye, Sindhu.
See
thank
you
you for
later.
having me.
Let's
Bye.
Thank you. Thanks.